Hey everybody, this is Workforce Gaming. I'm Doug, along with Brad,
Hello.
and today we're going to review one of the PS2 classics that is actually near and dear to my heart. I like this series a lot as a kid. I think I can say as a kid now, having played, having replayed
Wow.
Ape Escape too. No, I really like this series, but Brad has never touched it.
Nope.
Um, I haven't touched it in about like maybe 4 or 5 years, I guess. I recently replayed the series maybe a few years ago in college. So yeah, I guess I mean I'm pretty familiar with this series. You've never touched this series. How do you feel about Ape Escape? Because I think this is from what I had played, I was like, wow, this game is super outdated, but it still has a lot of really neat ideas that I need to see in a PS4 game.
I think that pretty much all sums it up. This game is super interesting in the way it does a lot of things,
hmm
but geez, are these like you can tell this game's like 10, 15 years old at this point. Like probably 50, yeah, probably 15 years old, right? This you can
Yeah,
tell the second you start playing this game how old it is. So that was kind of one of those things that I did when I played this was okay. 15-year-old game, 15-year-old game, 15-year-old game, 15
yeah, definitely
I would
doesn't
have
hold up.
been I would have been in middle school. I would have been in middle school.
Yeah, I think the big thing with this game is like what you kind of need to understand the Ape Escape series is it basically started the whole series started as a way to show off the DualShock controller on PS1. Like two sticks were like that was when two sticks were a new thing. So so you have a million different gadgets and they all have to use the two sticks in some weird ways that as I play now I'm like, wow, this doesn't actually make sense anymore.
Yeah, it's the same thing we'll have looking back at motion controls in VR like, "Oh god, remember when we thought that was the best way to control something in VR?"
Yeah,
Idiots.
yeah. Yeah, so I guess I mean how the gameplay basically works is like it's sort of a platformer. I think it falls on the
Yeah, it's a
adventure
platformer.
it falls under the adventure platform where the goal is not necessarily just to get to the level. Like you actually have an objective, and the objective is to catch monkeys, which is kind of weird. It's kind of like a collectathon sort of, but with much more lively collectibles. I guess is the best way to put it.
I think that's my favorite piece of this game is lively collectibles is a great way to put that. This is one of the
hmm
few games I can think of where the thing you're trying to collect like fights back. It's actually there's a few of them that are kind of tough to catch. And there's
Yeah.
a few of them that you kind of have to try and work through some different things to catch them. And that's a really neat mechanic that I think is something as I was playing this, I was trying to think of what other game does this and I
Yeah.
couldn't come up with one. And that's one of those things where it's like not only recently, but in the 20, 25 years I've been playing video games, like I can't think of another game that does this. And that was the thing that kept
Mhm.
coming back to me as I was playing this was like, this is cool because it's not just, Mario, you go get the stars and you have to climb up the thing to get the star and then you hit the
Mhm.
star and you're like, yay. This
Yeah.
is, you climb up the thing, you go up there, you do it, and you're like, okay, this monkey's got a machine gun. So I gotta try and figure out how to catch the monkey with the machine gun.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the idea they're kind of like little they're not as intricate as I'd like them to be. They are kind of like little puzzles because not only do the monkeys like they have different types. Like there's like a slow monkey, a fast monkey. There's monkeys with machine guns, monkey with rocket launchers. There's monkeys with laser guns. There's monkeys that are fast, slow. So everyone kind of and you have like a series of gadgets. So it's kind of like a little bit of a puzzle. You can brute force a lot of them, just like run up to them and catch them if you
That's
need
what
to.
I did.
Yeah. um, but it is kind of neat because like every one you do approach, it is just a little bit different, and it's kind of neat because they sort of pepper in like they have like the normal monkeys. Like a normal monkey, I guess, would be you run after it. It sometimes tries to punch you and then runs away. But then, like the thing I really liked is that the levels are themed, and then the monkeys are themed, and the monkeys' abilities are themed as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think that's the thing that I like going back to it now. It's like yeah, there's a lot of outdated stuff. Yeah, you can brute force a lot of these, but there's just some stuff that's still kind of funny and kind of silly and kind of goofy about like every time you go to a new level, like there's a whole new series of monkeys that have like different abilities. Like I guess one of the simple ones is a you go to a circus, so there's like circus monkeys that breathe fire um, and like they breathe fire and do backflips, and they're really really hard to catch. And there's like another one that like swims around. It's a mer monkey, which always makes me
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah, and I think that's just it's one of those neat gameplay elements, and it's interesting always to see what things catch on and what things don't. And this is one of those things where playing it, you're like, why hasn't this been implemented somewhere else?
Mhm.
Why hasn't somebody else taken the time to go, you know what, this was a neat idea. Let's do something like that.
Mhm.
And it does feel like this kind of unique thing that really stands on its own. You can't get that in any other game. And I think that's what really kind of drew me into this, is as I was playing it, it was seeing how these monkeys evolved as you went through the game from the beginning, where it's just the normal monkey, and then, oh, this one's fast, so you got to use your hula hoop to catch
Yeah.
it. Oh, and this one's got a gun now. And that evolution really makes the game seem much more interesting than a game like Mario 64. Now Mario 64 is a much better game,
Yeah, for sure.
but but it gives it a very different element, and it gives it a different feel. It gives it some uniqueness to it, and that's what I like. Is I like games that do something unique. They take a concept and they make something unique about it. It's one of the things that I loved about Splatoon.
Mm-hmm.
Is it took the first person shooter thing and it said, well, what if your objective wasn't just to kill everybody, it was to kill everybody and do this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going, what if your objective's to capture these things, but there's some work required to capture them? And I think that's a very interesting way to approach this, and it's something that you don't see.
Yeah, and the thing I like too is that they feel like very, like you're saying, it's like your goal is like to collect these things, but it's not just like I guess Mario 64. I think that's a really good example. They keep bringing back to maybe Banjo-Kazooie, where it's like they're just stars, but in this one, like every monkey has a name, a personality type, and like a little thing written about them.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like it's dumb little things, and like some of them have like really unique animations too. So it does kind of give you this sort of like, it changes that sort of like collectathon, traditional collectathon that you'd expect, and then adds that sort of element of uniqueness, and that sort of element of like, no, these aren't just collectible things, these are actually individual creatures, kind of like a Pokemon or something like that. As cool as this game is, I mean, time has not been super nice this game.
Yeah, I think the thing that kept getting to me is the fact that you jump using the shoulder buttons. That, to the end of this game, to the very end, screwed me up over and over and over again, having to hit R1 and R2 to jump.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Like, my fingers don't do that.
And it's not even like it's not even like a really nice jump. It's not a friendly
No,
jump
no,
at
no,
all.
no.
Like it's like a weird, very vertical jump that doesn't really go forward that
Yeah, and you can't really
well.
judge
Um,
distances, whether or not you need to bust out the helicopter thing or not. And
yeah, and then even like how do you feel about, I guess looking back now, I think some of them are kind of frustrating, but I kind of like twirling the stick for a hula hoop, like or twirling the stick for like the helicopter, or I think pulling back to use a slingshot I don't need to do,
well,
but I mean, how do you like that sort of like each gadget has different controls? Like they're not just different purposes, but they do actually have like different control sets almost entirely.
I I don't really different control sets as being a being fairly generous, because for the most part it's spin the stick. The helicopter, spin the
That's
stick.
true.
The hula hoop,
That's true.
spin the stick. The
The
magnet,
banana ring,
the
spin the
banana
stick.
ring. Yeah,
Yeah.
most of them are just like pull back on stick, push forward on stick, spin the stick. It's, I think, like you said, it's one of those things where it's an interesting time capsule, so to speak. Like looking back
Yeah.
and going like, when the DualShock came out, this was the first thought people had about twin sticks: is what if we made
Mhm.
one you could spin, and what if one controls your, and you got a perfectly good X button right there next to it that could do all this stuff, but instead that's used for your weapon select. So it's almost, that was one of the interesting things that hit me right away again, is the fact that the rest of the gaming industry just went, no, that's dumb. No, no, no. The X, the square, the triangle, and the circle, those are your do stuff buttons, and the stick is your select shit button.
Yeah, yeah, or like look around. This is like, I mean, like if people have not like played the series, this is before like the right stick was used to look around. Like they didn't
Yeah,
know
your
that was the
D-pad
thing
looks
that we should be
around.
doing.
D-pad looks around, so you got to take your left thumb off the stick to look around and move the camera. Which
Oh, I didn't
I
realize
think
that. I
after
just
the
kept hitting L1 over and over
yeah,
again.
I think after I found that, 'cause I was like, well, what is the D-pad? Like, can I move with the D? Like, what is? And I was like, oh no, and I don't think I ever touched it again.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though, because like these things that are like just like egregious issues now, it's like these things have been fixed pretty readily. Like I don't think they're big fixes. Like I still think that the very unique base of having like capturing monkeys is still pretty freaking fun. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, these wonky controls can be fixed. Like that's a thing. I think the game like desperately needs a quick select for all of your weapons or gadgets,
Yes,
because
it's so much pause menus, especially when you get to the last level. The last level where it's like every area is like because we got to go through all the gadgets one more time essentially as you're
yeah,
platforming through. So it's like, all right, I switched to the helicopter. Oh, now I need my magnet. Oh, now I need my slingshot. Okay, now I need my water gun. And you just like, I swear I was in the pause menu every 30 seconds trying to change my gadgets out.
Yeah, like I guess people don't know, like you have 4 slots to fill, and you have like eight ga- 8 gadgets that you have to swap through pretty frequently. Like you have to use like 5 or 6 gadgets a level, so you are in that pause menu a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, like to me though, it's like even going back to this game, I was a little disappointed. I was like, okay, this game definitely doesn't hold up like I remember, but it was still like those ideas are still really freaking good. Still one of those series that I'm kind of like sad, kind of just like went by the wayside and
Hmm.
sort of disappeared. There's actually 2 more sequels after this one. Ape Escape 3. That one's okay. It's a little silly. Like you play as a boy and a girl who are not any of the characters in this game. They're not Spike. Or, it's not even Spike in this game. The kids they have the British version. Oh god, I don't want to get into that.
I feel like you're gonna get into some super technical crap that nobody but you and like 6 other people is really gonna care about.
Okay, this is one thing. This is one super technical thing, and I'll end it on this. The original Ape Escape that came out in America had the voice of Ash and Misty from Pokemon, and it was published by Ubisoft. Uh, so Sony doesn't have the rights to that version of the game, but they do have the rights to the British version,
Which is what
which
we
is
got.
what we got, which has these horrible cheeky monkeys and biscuits, and they have like they play football, but they're clearly playing soccer, and it's like, oh no.
And to be
Real,
fair, if you did
yeah,
not listen to that conversation, you never would have noticed because I
that's true.
certainly didn't. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think saying this game doesn't hold up though is a little bit rough because I think it does. I
yeah,
never touched this and I enjoyed my time with it. I think saying something doesn't hold up to me is more saying if you've never played this before, if you don't have that nostalgia piece for it, you're
I
not going
guess
to
that's
enjoy
true.
it. I had no feelings at all towards Ape Escape. It was one of those things as a kid I saw. I was like, "You catch monkeys with a net? Now I'm gonna go play Halo." Like that was my thought about this game at the time. But now looking
Yeah,
at it from now, playing it for the first time, I enjoyed it. And I think looking at it from that time piece of going, this is 15 years ago. Okay, yep. For some reason, I'm swinging to the left and right and up and down with the stick, and I'm jumping with R2. Whatever. People were dumb then. It's fine. Um, but I think looking back on it from there, it holds up in a sense of it's fun. The gameplay is still
mhm,
cool. The gameplay is still unique. It's not something where it's like, oh, this is clearly like to me going back to GoldenEye. Every time
yeah,
like I go back to GoldenEye every couple of years, I'm like, oh, this game was so cool. It's you're like, oh, there are 100 games that do this exact same thing way better now.
yeah.
There are games that are similar to this, but this game does enough unique things on its own that it still feels like okay, this is a unique experience that I can only have here and from this time. It's like
Mhm.
what's the other game that kept popping into my brain as I was playing this? Star Wars Obi-Wan.
Okay, of course.
Which if you didn't play was it must have came it was an original Xbox game, so it must have came out right along the same time with this. But they had the same thought of what if you had full control of your lightsaber with the right analog stick.
Yeah. Oh
But
man.
it's the same idea, and it's that same thing of like it's at least it's interesting. It's something different. It's that you know
Yeah.
what there's this tremendous stream of games that are all doing the same thing and all doing things the same way and everything. Even though it's not quite as good, it still has that feeling of like you know what this is kind of nice to at least try something different.
Yeah, I guess you could say that in that way. I think there's a lot of games that kind of don't get outdated because nobody's done what they did better because
Exactly.
nobody else has tried it yet. I think
Yes.
Grand Theft Auto 3 was like a really good example of a game I think is very outdated now just because so many games were able to improve on it. And this
Exactly.
one is just kind of those ones that kind of got,
Yeah.
lost in the ethers of video games.
For sure.
But man, they keep bringing it up and stuff. Man, there's some really cool stuff. There's so many cool stuff. I like the mini games too. We haven't talked about the mini games. I like the
Didn't
collectibles.
touch them.
Collectible, huh?
Didn't touch them.
Do you touch the collectibles at least, like the little like gotcha thing where you get
I
like the
did
little
because I needed like
concept art
just so
and
I could
stuff?
get jackets and cookies and stuff.
Yeah, and you get concept art and
Yeah, I
stuff.
clicked
And you
through
get
all
like
that.
really, really strange stories that don't make any
Yeah, I
sense.
didn't read a single one, so that's okay.
Oh, all right, we'll skip that stuff. All right. I mean, are you excited? I mean, if there's a new Ape Escape now, are you on board a little bit? Like, if you saw an Ape Escape coming to PS4, would you now be a little bit more interested?
Oh, for sure. I'd be much more excited. I wouldn't have had any feeling prior to this, but I'd be excited. I'd be interesting to see. And I'm the thing with it would be those I'm assuming it's not the same people. You know all that stuff. It's like oh yeah, there's a new one, but it's like oh this is somebody else's interpretation of it, and you get into all that weird stuff. So I'd be curious. I'm not. I
Yeah.
have no desire to go back and go like, well, now I got to play Escape 1 and 3, and the other was like a move game or something. Like I need to go back and play that now. I had no desire to do that, but if there's a new one, I'd be into it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm good. No, that's good. So every time the Japan Studio logo shows up at a Sony conference, you're like, oh, maybe it's Ape Escape, like I do for the past decade.
You have all the things Japan Studios done. I'm not gonna go Ape Escape.
I will. All right. All right. So we are Workforce Gaming. If you guys like what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. Just you guys can subscribe below, or you can follow us on Twitter at Workforce